Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Creatives Chat. Join us as Peter and the Brodcast pick up where they left off in our after show convo.
I feel it.
Streaming from Retro Earth Studio and brought to you by
wearehistorically.com, Conscious Brand Apparel, and
Level up your life and raise your vibration with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks. Get your vibrational sound tools for your personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
After Show Convo.
What's good though, man? Like,
What's good?
What's good? Yo, it really is tight just to see that come to fruition. And I think that's probably one of the most like conscious, even just positive, upbeat like album arts. And in terms of even just like that little
Just
like
the
almost
visuals?
yeah, just the visuals of them, like the mandala on the actual CD, and just like that.
Yeah, the
journey, like,
labyrinth.
the labyrinth, that's what it was. I was like, no, that's not really the right word.
Yeah.
But the labyrinth, like those for me, I was like, oh, that's next level. And then you could just see all the different aspects of just that, the great mystery kind of play itself out. So was that like a collaboration in terms of the imagery? Were you like, hey, I want like this, or was it
Big
like, do your?
time.
Oh yeah.
Big time. It was a fascinating experience, honestly. My guy Blake Q, a friend recommended him, and I reached out. I was like, all right, man, it probably came at him way too hard. Like, all right, I got this conceptual project, and it's a haiku, but it's an album, but it's a, whatever. And he was such a professional. And so he was like, okay, so we met for 30 minutes. We talked. I was just like, yeah, these are kind of things I'm feeling. This is, I gave him a lot. And then, he came back at me with like some ideas. He gave me 3 ideas. And I was like, man, this is not it. This is it was a little too kindergarten-y,
Yeah.
which we wanted playful. We wanted that. But it was like, and I was like, you know what I want is like a little more of like modern hieroglyphic vibe or something like that, like a little more like cave painting kind of storytelling or something. And so then he came back to me with like 10 more little sketches, little ideas, and I was like, oh, like we're getting there with this and this, and like, and I also I was just walking a labyrinth one day, because you'll find those like in churchyards and stuff around,
Yeah. All
or I don't
around
know, like
Seattle
they're out
too.
there.
Like,
And I found one, and I was like, those are such a nice like walking meditation, and
oh yeah.
and so I just sent him. I took a picture of it, and I was like, oh, and this. Just literally to stir it as another thing, because we had like exchanged some like inspiration, like mood boardy kind of things.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and this, like just stir this in somehow, like. And then he was like he was like, ooh, and then he made that the disc.
Yeah.
He put that on the disc, and
That's
I was
what
like,
I was like.
yeah, I was like, this truly is it's just fully aligned, it's
Yeah.
just like it, because the labyrinth itself is such a metaphor for what the album is about and what it all is, which is, it kind of comes back to a little bit of like the path, like like your whatever your unique path as a being here is, like the spiritual path, a lot of people will call it, like.
Yeah.
But our path, as being incarnated as humans, like it's with the earth. This is where we are,
Yeah.
and the labyrinth is such an earthy symbol, because it's like, because it's physical, it's like on the ground, it's literally a place where you're connecting the earth and the heavens, right? Like the earth and the sky together, because you're holding, you're bringing an intention, kind of your spirit to it. You're bringing your heart to it, and then you're doing a physical grounded thing. You're walking, and and the path is all windy, And it's like, and it's like, it's not linear. It's a
Yeah.
mandala. It is a mandala, it's a labyrinth, but
It's gonna take you all the way around, all the way through, deep in and out.
yeah. So I was like, man, that it feels so like, again, like divinely, like whatever, just inspired that that symbol like popped into the process, because it really grounds it, and it really like feels like the true metaphor for this record, which is about a path, and then I was like, yeah, I just want like, I want to pull from the lyrics, like, so like he did the little eye, and that's kind of like looking down at this earth, like imagine how we look from the stars, the song of the flowers from What's Good, or planting seeds, or from Visions, the wallflowers dancing again. An early edition, he had these flowers dancing, and I was like, okay, that is cool, but it's just a little too on the nose, maybe, for me.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to go a little more like, just a little more metaphorical, symbolic, or whatever, than like actual flowers dancing, like it's maybe that was the move, but I don't know. So I pushed
like
for a little more serious direction, but and then the drink water, he put the C in the glass, and like
no, it came out.
But we went back and forth
perfect on it.
Yeah, it came out perfect. We exchanged like 90 emails, but he really but his work was incredible. Like he leveled up the project so much, because that's on the merch, like
Oh yeah.
and the CD, and just like it's I think that he
layers.
really tapped in. Yeah, he tapped into the energy of the project with me, which is what I dream of with any collaborator. I'm like, could you like just kind of try to, what I want them to do now maybe I have the terminology for it. I want them to let it into their hearts, and then to create from that place, and some people don't do that, most people don't do that. Like I've collaborated with a lot of people, and like people will get real mechanical about things, and I guess like that's something I really cherish about the people who collaborated with this on this with me, like Jules, big time. Yeah, Ian and Kyle, like they bring their fullness to it, their hearts to it, and like and Blake really like he let it in, and then he created from that place, and that's how we got this.
Well, it's beautiful when you look at it like that too, because again, it's this process of creation that creates a wild like mosaic. Again, it's almost like just coming back to everything that's going on right now. It's like that mandala. It's like you have everyone creating their own aspects of it, and it just comes together as this like beautiful piece. And I think that's the one aspect to the art that maybe that's the nature of the timelessness aspect, is that it's like it pulls its own thing. Like you created your own actual being from this energetically. And I think that's the stuff that's even more trippy, right?
Big time. Yeah, dude, that's something I've been thinking about a lot too, kind of during the years of this project. Like just the way that I have to separate it, because I'm holding that being in myself for a long time, and then like releasing it, I have to let it go, be its own thing,
and let it grow and gain
and I have to
inertia.
separate my identity from it personally, because otherwise in past projects I have really struggled with like, I don't know, like measuring my worth by how people receive it, kind of,
Yeah.
And I think I've really done some serious healing on that. It still pops in, but it felt so much better to release this album than it did to release Discovery. Just like the actual like ontological experience of releasing it, like the way that I experienced it was so much more fun. So much less attached to how people receive it, and just like, this is the offering. This is what I take it or leave it,
That's a special word right there, because when you turn it into an offering and you take away that like attachment to it, you take away like, oh, I'm giving this to you, this is for everyone. It's like, no, this is just like, you transition from it's about me and I'm doing this to, hey, here's my service, here's a gift for the world, like I'm not asking anything in return. And it's when you do those types of things, that's when everyone really fucks with it. They're like, ooh, I like that, like I'm a vibe with that. And just in that process of the healing and letting go, what has really brought you to this point of letting go of that attachment to like creative works? Like what was the distinction between this project and Discovery?
It's a work in progress, because it still creeps in, like I said, but
But now
it's
you
got to be
recognize it.
yeah, it's layered. That's what I was gonna say. Is on one layer, it's just an awareness. I was like, I just was super aware coming out of the Discovery release show. I was like, I had a horrible time. That was not fun for me. Everyone else had a great time. I just didn't have a good time. And on one level, it's as simple as it's kind of a, on the mechanical level almost. It's as simple as I asked for more help on this release
Mm,
show. I like held less of the responsibilities for like logistics. So I
mm,
wasn't like at the Discovery show, I literally was the only one realizing that the first band who had said they would let the second band use their drums was like taking their drums down, right? Like it was like chaos. I was like, dude, we need to use the other act needs to use those drums. You can't take those drums.
wow.
And and it was just like so chaotic. And everyone was like, when are you gonna go on if it's late? And I was like, dude, like I don't know, dude. Like, I go on when I go on. Like, I just took on all this stress about it. So
Yeah.
I
Trying to
did a
make it
better job.
perfect or like,
Yeah, I did a better job this time with like letting go of that stuff. Um, Definitely some perfectionism is just an ongoing inner thing I'm working on. But I did have some real insight about that with my when I was on retreat and was
mm,
really like in deep reflection with myself and had a little bit of guidance as far as like practices and I yeah, I don't know. I think I touched on a place in myself that had like identified with a story
mm,
of
yeah.
being bad, Like I don't know if it
Mhm,
was from church or family or something, but like some sort of thing that I had like taken in, and I was always some part of me was always looking for more evidence that I was like sinful or bad or like not
mm,
like
yeah.
unworthy or something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people deal with that, like our
100%.
young minds are super impressionable, and it's not I don't know, like it's a little bit of like divine grace that I found my way into this circumstance, and then like I was open enough and I was like to like really like do some contemplation practices and look at what hurt in my life
Yeah.
in the light of like being held by the universe
Mm,
and to like look at what I feared and then to look at what was I doing to separate myself from the
mm,
divine, you know?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then to just like, really like try to just and then to just surrender into like be held. I don't know by the universe, and
Yeah.
just be like, whoa, that is a crazy close look into my like soul almost. And now I'm just gonna like now that I've done that and I can see there were defense mechanisms that I was kind of unconsciously
Mm,
employing.
yeah.
But now that I see that, I can now that it's conscious, I can work with it and I
Yeah.
can like try to make different decisions,
Ooh.
over time
Yeah.
and notice when I slip back into it. Um, and just also, yeah, like back to surrender, like just know that it's not all up to me in a weird way. Like my heart is connected to the heart, the one heart, the one song, the one, just the everything that. And so like as a part of that I have support from that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing process as well,
Yeah. Just
practices and
trusting it,
yeah,
like just
practices
sinking
and
deep.
cultivation and trust and faith. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty thing. That's the beautiful aspect about trust is, I see trust and faith as synonymous. They're one and the same. I very much see belief and assumption the same too. So that's
Mm,
always kind of a clear distinction to like clarify in that sense, because for me, it's this moments where, you touched on it in part one, where it's like trust the process, right? Where the more we actually I mean, we don't know if it's going to work out. We just have to trust and just keep walking. But the more we have those experiences where these people just come together, those divine timing moments, just everyone links up and you'll level up together. You have some dope insight because you ran into some random stranger, wink, wink, you know, like it's those
Sure.
moments that give us that really just ease of just like, okay, I can let go of the reins a little bit. I don't have to like have so much tension behind it. And that's when just life starts getting so flowy and magical. It's like the more you start to surrender to it, the more effortless it gets. And then like, oh, it's just a magical ride. But like the one thing that really pops out for me is your experience of religion and then dabbling into spirituality or the path later on. I feel like that is a very rare thing for a lot of people to come back to it after they've kind of cast out from something that they had a negative or just didn't really care for as much or didn't resonate with their heart to a deep level. So where did you have this transition of like, and I guess you'd say exiting kind of like the religious aspect to entering your own more personal search and an understanding of the divine?
Yeah. It's interesting, and it's been quite an inner journey, I guess. I think growing up in church, I just kind of, it wasn't a abusive situation. It was fine, like I
Yeah.
was blessed. It wasn't too, but what it
It was a
didn't
chill
have,
church.
say it again.
It was a chill church.
Yeah, I mean, ish, right? And like what it didn't have was a lot of like, well, one, it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. The more experiences I had, the more my mind developed, my like heart, I don't know, the more I developed as a human being, I was like, wait a second. So we are saying that that my neighbor down the street is going to hell
Yeah.
because they do not profess to be Christians. But I mean, I don't know. Like they're like better people than us,
You're like,
honestly. Like
you're like,
what?
is this loving?
Yeah, like I was like, this doesn't make sense, And there wasn't enough of a I just wasn't very moved by it. Like as I got to know myself more and more, I was like, this isn't capturing my heart. There were elements at times that did, where I was like, there was a musician and a youth pastor who was a wonderful mentor for me, and the way that he played the guitar, I was like, wow, that is prayer, that is worship, that is something like there's something holy in the way that like the reverence that he brings to how he does that like I can feel a connection to God in that. And like that was wonderful. And that was such a gift for my younger years to be able to experience that. And it was funny because, there was like some church politics and stuff. And like, I don't know, there was times when people complained about him or something like that. And I was like, you guys are crazy. Like, that's like
that's the
like
truth.
That's the truthest part of this whole experience that and then kind of like I mentioned earlier, man, I would hear secular music and I would be so moved, so captured by it. So just like, oh, my heart, this is touching my heart in the way that like saying, Jesus, Jesus, holy, holy was not touching my heart. I don't know. So it was just like a slow, painful, confusing process of just like, I don't know, just being like, what does my heart want? I guess, what speaks to my heart and what doesn't. And I don't know. I've never like been like I've never like done any denouncing or any whatever. Like I'll go to a church service every once in a while or something. But the kind of more the inner journey that I've had has been a lot more like rewarding and real to me than like the experiential stuff than the kind of the doctrine or the what's that word the for things that are solid dogma within a lot of church stuff. And then there was another element to your question, I feel like. Coming back to spirituality kind of. I will say I have seen people who were really in the church life and then who were like, what, like this doesn't fit me anymore, and they cast it out kind of, and then cast it out so far that they almost like close a part of themselves off,
Yeah,
and I think that's what you were touching on maybe, and I've
Yeah.
seen that, and I don't think I really ever had that. I never was an atheist, like,
Yeah.
or whatever, which, and I think I also believe that you can be an atheist and still be a deeply faithful spiritual person.
100%.
I think it's the spirit that you bring to whatever you do that defines that way more than the words.
Yeah.
That's my the whole thing in that song that we talked about, like words are just a map, and
It's all the
I think
energy.
for somebody, an episode of South Park or something could crack you open and lead you another step on your path, maybe, like,
I definitely have been there in some cases.
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's the spirit of like that you bring to something. Like they are reverent about their irreverence. I swear, like, and like, or like, one time I was at this like witch's house in New Orleans, and it was the craziest experience. And it was like there was, she was into taxidermy, so there was like bats, dead bats hanging around, and potions and concoctions. And we were like, it was on the somewhere road trip. I was like, do we need to get out of here? But as I sat with it, I was like, you know what though? This person brings such heart and like such reverence to cultivating their life, their room, their space. I'm like, I feel like there's God in this. Like she might say like all this, like, she might make weird hell jokes or whatever, but like, that's a front, like she actually is. This is a very spiritual place that we're in right now, and it's beautiful. And
she's put that love into it
because the love is in it. And I think people have a really hard time, I think, seeing that or feel, because it's not about, it's because it's a feeling and it's a heart thing and it's subtle. But I really, and then just 3 quick anecdotes. I went to a Hare Krishna temple once and we chanted, and I was like, whoa, I feel this is beautiful. We are tapping into something right now. Like, and we were just chanting the name of God. And I thought about it. I was like, oh, it's like an invocation, right? Maybe they said that. Maybe I didn't draw that. But the experience moved me. And I was like, suddenly I thought about the songs that I was singing in church as a kid. And I was like, I saw them in a slightly better light. I was like, these songs don't compel me the way that, other songs do. But maybe there is some beauty in chanting the name of God, or like the intention of that, right? Like there's a beautiful intention of that, of trying to channel or invoke the divine, and that energy. And singing together is really powerful and beautiful. 2, I went to a sweat lodge, a Native American sweat lodge, a little to the north. I don't know, maybe around
up in Arlington.
Maybe Arlington.
I was like, I feel like there's a sweat lodge up there.
It might have been. It was with Simon, and oh man, like the way that they prayed, I was like, this is so beautiful. Like this is so powerful, and like such a living prayer. Like it's like, it's like a freestyle. It was alive, and it was like really like true worship in that. And it I think I had like stepped away from prayer, or thought, I'd kind of put that aside, and this invited it back into me. And and again, I looked at the traditions I grew up with, and I saw them in a better light. I was like, oh, you know what? Like prayer can be beautiful, and there's something in that, And the third one, I can't remember, but let's see if I can remember right now. But it basically these different, got it. These different traditions. Like I find so much inspiration in spiritual traditions and different faiths, interfaith, like interfaith is so powerful to me. Like, because like it's all these different paths up the mountain, right? And everybody's got these different insights, the puzzle pieces, like you talk about, those different puzzle pieces, it's so cool. And like, my mind, my heart, like I yearn for different perspective, because it helps me to see differently and feel differently and like understand differently, more deeply. Like I have a penetrating mind, like I like to spin things around and see all these different angles and like really like get a sense for what's there,
I like that. The penetrating mind.
Yeah, I don't know. And sometimes that has a shadow side, gotta make sure it's following the heart. But here's the third little quick anecdote about that stuff. That's I was in Chicago, and if you take one of the Chicago L trains to the very end up into Evanston, there is a Baha'i temple. And Baha'i is like Are you familiar at all?
Mm-mm.
It's like a faith that kind of is like, look, there's something in all faiths, like it's kind of an
Oh, okay,
interfaith faith, right?
gotcha.
Um, and so I went to this temple with my friend just because it's kind of like it's like a little bit of a tourist attraction, sort of. It's like something to do. And I was in Chicago, and we took the train out there, and we got in this temple, and it's made of like, there's like courts in every part of it, right? And it's like it's a temple and it's huge. It's like magnificent, like kind of
Mm.
spire, and the intention of it is for it to be a place for prayer and contemplation for anybody, any faith,
Mm.
like any or not faith, just any
Yeah.
human, And I was like,
Yeah.
one, again, very moved by that, because the
Mm.
exclusionary kind of doctrine of a lot of
Yeah.
Christianity, like this is the only way, like
Oh yeah.
really like doesn't feel good to me. Doesn't feel good in
Mm-mm.
my heart,
Yeah.
Doesn't feel true. Doesn't resonate. But this temple, I go in there, and we get in there, and I'm like, oh, like I start feeling it. I'm like, whoa, this is a holy place. Like I'm like, yo, hey, like you do your thing. I gotta sit down. And I, just went and sat down. I just like cried. I just opened up. I had a heart
Wow.
opening experience. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, like I don't know what's moving through me. Thought about my family, thought about how much I love them, how
Wow.
sad I will be when they pass. And, since then my mom passed, and like, but
Mm.
I just like opened up in this interesting way. And then a thunderstorm happened just out of nowhere. It just suddenly just creeps in, and suddenly it's just and my friend's like, hey, we got to go. And we it was really just powerful, moving experience.
Wow.
And we run to the L train, the stop, and we're just running through this rain, and it's like a whole different kind of rain, and again it was like this surrender. It really, I was
Yeah.
like, something happened in that space, and something opened up in me, and I was like, okay, like all right, like I don't know,
Wow.
like I'm going. And so I just we run in the rain, which is such a potent like surrender metaphor, of just like,
Yeah.
we didn't have coats, we didn't have umbrellas, we didn't have anything. We just knew that we had to go catch that train, that whatever. And so we just run through the heaviest rain, and we get to the stop, and I'm wringing out my shirt. I take off my shirt and wring it out because it's so drenched.
Wow.
And again, that sticks with me. And again, like, I take something away from that, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? There's something beautiful in creating space for worship, or space for prayer, or space for contemplation,
Mm.
space for connecting to the divine, or to like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, it was just funny, like putting back together in a way, right? Because it was like, first it was or I said, it was the prayer, and then it was the chanting, the singing, the songs, the name of God, and then the space. And I was like, you know what? Those are beautiful things. And so I hope that wherever people find those things or have those things, they, can feel that, and that those can be vessels for connecting to the universe, to the divine.
I really vibe with that. I guess you would say like those trinity of experiences that kind of paint this appreciation of what we already have at our disposal to really explore, and the importance of when we do come together in community. And even just, I mean, honestly, just having a space that is magical, right? Where it's just like you doll it up, like you make it a place where it's like, this feels special, this feels powerful.
Totally. Bring it, like, yes, the way that you're holding these spaces speaks to exactly that, like bringing your intention,
Yeah.
that we participate, that the people who made that Baha'i temple, like, they intended to create a space
Yeah.
for people to come contemplate, worship, reflect, whatever, pray. And that intention matters, that intention is coded into what they created, this lasting space. But with just like having a circle, like you said, like that intention, you can do, and we can do that as humans. And that's also what I was trying to do with this record release, and with this record, is like, like create an intentional space. And you mentioned earlier, sorry, you really got me going, my guy. I'm not letting you get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, I'm loving it, bro. It's all
No,
good.
You mentioned earlier that like, I'm not saying like spirit or something like that,
Yeah.
but that you felt it, or whatever,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And that's something that is really like that's a high value for me for some reason. Like
Yeah, you can feel the heart. You can
yeah,
feel it
well,
come
the
through.
heart of you know, and it's something that I look around in the world and I find it all over the place. I'm finding all these beautiful hearts and these beautiful works that have come through people's hearts and but when I'm communicating, you know, like when I'm making music, when I'm making space, when I'm whatever, I just don't really, and maybe this will change, you know, maybe it's just where I've been at, but like I don't really make it like overtly spiritual
No,
personally, you know,
no,
which and I'm down.
it's
I'm open.
subtly sprinkled in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Like I'm open. Like if somebody's like, "This is a spiritual thing," whatever, like that doesn't close me off because
Yeah,
of all these experiences that I just named. I'm
yeah.
down, you know. But for some people, it really closes them off, and I care about those people, you know, or whatever.
They
And
need
like
it the most.
maybe, you know, and I don't want
That-
to. I just don't want to create exclusive spaces like with my stuff. I want it to be like, yeah, like I barely even swear in my music because like I don't know. I just want people to you know, I want it to be for people of all ages or whatever, all
yeah,
temperaments, you know, like uh I don't know. And I personally I find it more creative to like not swear, but it's not like
right.
I don't look down on swearing, you know. I swear in my regular life.
Yeah,
But for some reason with music I'm like, no, I'm going to treat this just a little, it's just a way to treat it a little bit sacred and you know, I break the rules sometimes too. So that's part of it all.
right. Moderation, and
But
it's
yeah,
the
I feel like just to get back to real quick, I feel a need, you know, when I look at my anthropological lens out at the world, like we need spirituality. We need
100%.
connection to each other and to what connects us all, you know, to the one song, you know, that universe, you know, whatever.
I like that.
I didn't make that up. So this amazing poet made that up, and I can't find his name, but I saw him at this. I mean, he might not have made it up either, but he did a dope poem about it long ago at like Seattle like Seattle Community College or whatever in
Yeah,
Capitol Hill. Saw this amazing poetry night. Anyways, the one song, the one verse, you know, like we need to be connected with that. And
yeah,
you see that in some of these like really kind of dogmatic Christian churches, like really pushing for revival and for God to be in politics and this and that. And then you see this like other side that's kind of like our materialist sort of like you know, liberal, like whatever, like scientific society, you know, and
mm,
that's like really kind of closed. Kind of like your question, you know, people are really closed off to anything that they can't like prove, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
and I just think like we need things that are in between those because I don't think either of those are the way. We can't just
right.
be all materialist. We're not going to
Exactly.
make it. We can't just be all fucking, excuse me, all dogmatic to the point where like you need to have a this kind of family and you only have sex with this kind of person only within this kind of context and all these rules
Yeah,
and all this like it's just it's just limiting, you know, it's just
yeah,
closed-minded and intolerant and like that intolerance is not the way. But it's
exactly.
weird because right now we have this cultural dichotomy where the God side is the intolerance and the no God side is the, you know, science is God, materialism is God,
Yeah,
whatever. And
right.
that and neither of them are working and neither of
No.
them are what we need. Like they're not solving
Ooh,
people's spiritual problems because people who are on this side have spiritual problems and people who are on this side have
100%.
spiritual problems, you know, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I don't know.
It's the
Ex-
relatability.
Say it again.
So you said it's the relatability to the two. It's like, can you actually find that bridge to meet in the
Yeah.
middle?
Oh man. And so I focus on things like the just that we all have to deal with, like water and breath and trees and the ground and the and like that are
Yeah.
human things and that you called timeless, you know, right? And hopefully they are, right? Like yeah,
Hopefully someone looks back at this and is like, we're living in
they're like,
this. Was the world was
what's
the world not
dirt?
like this?
What are seeds? You know, like no.
Oh God, that'd be
Uh,
terrifying. So that's the potential. You have a dystopia that doesn't even relate to this, and then you have one that is just like, wait, what do you mean? We always give reverence to this stuff, or
yeah,
like, wait, but waters in bottles? Wait, what? Like,
yeah, dude.
you hope that that's the world that grows up. Like, oh, we all have this. What do you mean? Like, this was rare back then? Like,
Yeah. Just
uh,
a contribution to that, you know, is what it comes down to. Yeah.
well, yo, you've tapped into something that I've actually found, and you touched on it subtly in part one in terms of like the sail by the heart. Most people don't get that reference, but after talking with you, I definitely understand you get it. So,
Mm.
but it's allowing that shine, whatever that almost, because I don't know how you feel it, but I almost get like this magnetic radiance. It's just like it almost just feels like there's just a sun shooting out, but it also I can just feel it almost now with the pressure, where it's just like it's almost like that magnet. You just start attracts like, and you start getting all these dope souls coming together. And to me, it's really again like it sounds like you've naturally kind of had your heart geared on that compass level. And that's almost kind of like the vibe that I get from you a lot, is that like you're very heart led. Like your heart really is, again, you're just subtly adjusting the sails, but the wind's taking you and you're like, okay.
Oh, I love that. The deepening of the metaphor. Yeah. Interesting. You know, I was on a podcast years ago, and he was like, he kind of came up with that same metaphor. He was like, because I was talking about this like interfaith kind of vibe, and he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like we're sailors, you know? We don't land on one island and stay there. We keep sailing around and checking out here and checking out there, but like home is sailing almost, or home is on the ocean, right?
Yeah.
But I love it's
I'm
so
gonna snag
interesting.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. That adds another layer to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, you're adding another layer, and it's funny because like behind me there, like those are ships. Those are
Oh
all
wow.
sailing ships, except for that's like Chief Sealth statue or whatever. Like all over my space is like ships, and I'm
Hmm.
it's like this metaphorical home for me. Also, my parents sailed a little bit, when they were young. I was probably conceived on a sailboat, like there's something about it that just speaks to me deeply. I actually learned how to sail with a friend. It was really fun last summer, like
That's tight.
but the metaphor is almost like deeper for me. But yeah, no, I as you say that, I'm like, I mean, yeah, and I'm like, I'm scared to be like, yes, I do that, I'm like, because I still get all up in here, and but I think in general, like the deepest pulls in my life are really, yeah, like really
Yeah.
heart centered, and
Yeah.
I do my best to find home in that space, and I
Oh
really
yeah.
am working on continually like trying to set up my life in such a way where I can prioritize that, if you know what like
Yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
practices and like I don't know, just like groups, like meeting with the men's group is a
Oh
great
yeah.
example of like having rhythms in place, having community in place
Mm.
that I can like keep touching into that, because it's hard to do on your own because our egos are powerful, and
Oh
our
yeah.
wounds are powerful, and it forces in us, and so continual process.
Well, it's the dope aspect when you look at the potential of when you have people sharing intention coming together. And I think that's one of the things that's been revealing itself more and more through these different groups, because it's like, I participate in like that goddess warriors gathering. There's another heart-centered group, more Ram Dass, oriented,
I'm
that I'm
reading
that I'm a
Being
part
Ram
of.
Dass right now. I'm almost done with this. Great.
Oh, no, well, send the invite after the show. But there's and then yeah, then there's like the Building Brotherhood men's group. Like that's actually been a pretty interesting experience of just the manifestation capabilities. I think
Mm,
that's one of the things that I've seen is just like and what's been opening up more and more internally in those experiences. I feel like every time we have like a meeting like that, there's some event that has like a level up, that just like
mm,
I experienced something, there's like a massive release or something gets challenged and I'm like forced to question it.
mm,
And then it's just like, huh. So ever since like these groups, and I've listened more even to my own heart, like, just from some of those spaces, like my big mantra this year is like live love.
mm.
And the way that I even have that is like, um, I have it on my board, for like my daily task is I see it as like,
I like that.
so it's gonna be on some merch one day,
Yeah, there
but
you go.
it's just that sense of living and loving is one and the same.
Mm,
So the depth of it is like, in truth, I almost want to have it kind of like skewed and have it like pointing to the heart.
mm,
Like, because to me, it's just the more that I lean into that recognition of the sale and like drop that aspect of the mind and really just kind of just marinate in that throne, it's it's been wild just how many assumptions just keep dropping away. Because
mm,
that's like once that was figured out, I guess, like once the switch was flipped, that I was like, oh, it's assumptions. Gotcha. Like when I let go of assumptions, life is dope as fuck. Like,
back to that thing earlier when I mentioned like what am I doing to separate myself from the divine? Like what am I doing? How am I contributing to my kind of like suffering, or my perceived suffering at least? And a lot of times it's assumptions. It's crazy. Just holding up all and all the energy that goes into them, and then it changes your behavior because you're and then it becomes this wall between you and other people even, and it's like it's unreal. So yeah, I mean, just trying to have more and more spaces to work with that, and more touch points, and more community, like more of that in my life where that's acknowledged, and I can work with that and release that. And
I like that.
Amen.
Well, I mean, bro, you've been talking about it in your sense of just self-creation and just like the world and life you're building for yourself in your own bubble. And just that field of which is like, I'm making sure that the life I'm doing is speaking true to my heart. That's something right there, is living authentically. And you even kind of, I feel like you subtly mentioned it. It's that sense of when we listen to our authentic truth, right? That unique gift of God we are shines through, because again, like I see each of us as a window of awareness to the divine. It's like we all are the same little thing, and it's all the same water flowing through. And the unique channel or lane that we're creating is just our window, and we can make that as big as we want. And we can be that Grand Canyon, like a force just cutting through earth. And I feel the more of us that tap into this, the honestly quicker the ascension and leveling up will be. And just the fact that you see it as an importance just goes to show like how much your heart utilizes these things for its own journey. And that's the stuff where it's like, bro, real recognizes real. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. I gotta ask you, well, I'll rephrase that because I muffled my mouth. I gotta ask you, in terms of this inner looking and this journey that you've been on, what would be some advice for people that are really kind of hesitant about meditation, or those that are in the more of like Christian religious communities that are like, ooh, I don't know about involving or in grouping in other religions into my perspective? Like, what you got?
Man, something's gonna have to come through because I don't consciously know.
Nothing.
I guess like I just think.
What do you feel, Brodie?
Yeah. I feel like for me, a piece that was so important, and it's another framing on listening to my heart, but was just like having the sense of like, okay, these ideas say that this is bad or sinful or whatever, but it feels not bad. Like again, I'm not saying it very eloquently, but like I think it just comes down to like the dogmatic perspectives will often paint it like those things are evil and are taking you astray and taking you off the path. Like even like things like yoga or crystals or tarot cards or something like that. Like they will call those things like demonic and say that they are, but like I don't know. It's just, to me, when I'm trying to bridge something here. When I was younger, I just remember feeling this sense in myself about certain things. Like, I don't know, like that's just not, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's sinful. Whatever. I can't think of what it was. Maybe, maybe it was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, oh, you know what was a big thing for me? Okay, so I'm a huge reader, and fantasy books were such a powerful tool in my spiritual path.
Okay.
They wouldn't, because again, they wouldn't necessarily be overtly spiritual or anything, but like I could just feel in my heart what was being evoked kind of out of these
Yeah.
stories. And so one of them was the Golden Compass series.
Yeah.
And in the third one of those books, there's like there's something in a lot of Christianity stuff that's like that's kind of like low key, like hates the body. That's kind of like, oh, your
Ooh.
body is bad. It's evil. It's sinful.
Yeah,
Your
you start
desires.
in the game with original sin. You're already unworthy.
Yeah, and that's just like so sad. That's such a sad overlay over experience. You know, like it really like
Mm,
breaks my heart
yeah.
because what I want to say to your original
Mm.
question is listen to your heart. But I think that there's a lot that gets kind of like put between you and your heart by sometimes by religions, you know, because they say you can't trust your heart because you're going to have all these desires that it's you're being tempted, you know, or whatever, you know, and I don't know, it just like I was lucky enough to have these certain breakthroughs in that book, for example, like they really frame love, like even romantic love, as a powerful portal into like connection to the universe, you know, as something that can be so powerful it can like, you know, change the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and they frame it in this really beautiful way, and the church is like, no, don't let them, you know, like, oh, they need to, what, you know, and it's just like, and I just remember being so moved by that. It like broke me open as like a 13-year-old or something, reading this book late at night. I was just like, whoa, like there's something in this that speaks to something in me, and it's like helping me. So yeah, I mean, I guess still like, yeah, it's like listen to your heart, you know, like what moves you, you know, and
What
like
moves you?
what moves you, and does being at church move you? You know, maybe for some people it does. What
Yeah.
about it moves you? You know, and
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
life, in your day-to-day life, what moves you? Pay attention to that, because to step into the religious perspective, like if God our Father who loves us made us and made the world, then like wouldn't he make it so that you like are moved by beautiful like wouldn't the things that move you be
Yeah.
good?
Mm,
You know, like wouldn't
mm.
what kind of world is this, you know? Like and yes, there are things that feel good that are not good for you, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like evil or sinful necessarily, you
Yeah.
know, but it can just be distraction, you know, which is such a to me is such a healthier way of looking at it, you know, like sin, right? The idea of like sin being meaning in some translations sin just means like a mistake or whatever, you know,
Exactly. Yeah. Just
like it's
misstep.
just like, oh, like that wasn't it, you know,
Yeah.
but you're not condemned to hell forever. You're just
Yeah. Yeah.
you just learn from it, you know, and I
Yeah.
think it's such a easier way. I mean, you
Mhm.
know, everything I say, I can hear, I can feel the traps of like this
Modern day
dogmatic way of
wokeness
thinking
ish.
being like, well, easy. Well, Jesus didn't have it easy, you know, like, I don't know, but like, but it's not easy, you know, and that,
Well, I'll put it this way, man. I'm right there with
you
you
see,
because
I'm swimming, I'm treading water. So step in, please. Yeah. I fell out of the
Funny.
sailboat there, maybe, but
No, bro, you have it down to the sense because for me, the way I look at it is very much in that same light where we fundamentally forget our position in this beautiful gift when we externalize our divinity. And I think that's one of those contrasts that you're even speaking of is just like, you
and
know,
just
the east and west. What's up?
yeah, no, I think you nailed it. Like externalizing our connection to it.
Yes.
Like I think really I think in a lot of like evangelical Christianity, the Bible has become an idol, to
Yeah.
use their
100%.
language. It's
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
an idol that is glorified above the living God, an actual
Boom.
connection to life and to God
Exactly.
and to and it's just really sad because and there's people who get in there and really interpret it and put it in context and you know use like whatever and take it. That's great, you know. But at the end of the day, like it's a book and people wrote it and maybe it was I'm sure there was a version of it that was really inspired by the divine. I think the Torah can be really beautiful
Oh yeah.
probably. I think, you know, there's some deeply mystical you know, sects of Judaism and what
Oh yeah.
and that's where you know, the old whatever.
Old sacred geometry, Kabbalah, like
Sure.
all
And
Kabbalah technically.
there's something in there and if the Bible speaks to you good, if that moves you,
Yeah.
then good, then follow that, you know, follow what moves you. But it gets used in this really dogmatic, intolerant way
Yeah.
that I think is akin to idolatry, and it's really
100%.
blocking an actual connection to spirit and to God.
And I got a hot take. So I went to a Catholic high school. My parents were like, you can experience religion and see what you pick, and I just kind of opted out. So I was like, not really a fan of any of these things. I had an experience at Southern Baptist Church, at synagogue, and like my dad's was always into like I guess you would say like Buddhism, like more so I would say the I Ching. He was very much more like that Taoist mentality, but like that I would say the introspection of that freedom to choose and see things was almost like that interfaith, just kind of natural progression where I was always just being able to see like what would resonate on that heart within each things. And I started to be able to see different aspects of like, oh, well, why are y'all worshiping Jesus? He never said to worship him. He actually told you not to, because he said the kingdom of heaven's within each of us. I was just like, so what makes us any different? And you see the Buddha, that's where I came up with the assumptions things. Cause I was just like, let go of attachments. I see that. But what are the attachments attached to? So I was just like, okay. Then the I Ching just brought the sacred aspect of just like living life and understanding like the more like I usually use my I Ching more so to transition to Qigong and just like using like the more like the energetic like system. But my real core is very akin to how you see things, and it's the native aspect. I am so tied to just like naturally more so like the native shamanic routes of things, because it's that reverence for life. It's like we're all royalty. Like you're divine, I'm divine, this desk is divine, the screen's divine, the room I'm in's divine, the air, the ground, the earth. And just being able to give reverence for just being is something that is so just like undervalued and not even offered as an opportunity, because we're so much stuck in that go, that contracted state. Like I'm right there with you, like
back to subtlety. And
exactly the subtleties of things, like,
and it's simple.
And it's God itself. Like you've said it like 1,000 times, like not even that, but you've said it a few times where it's like communing with God. Like you're like, oh, I'm communing with God. Like when someone's playing guitar, you're communing with God. It's like, yes, you are, because they're divine. And that flow is just effortlessly coming out. And I really do see if more people were able to experience that knowing, where it's just like, and to have that opportunity to assimilate it, because it's like, and not externalize it, to recognize that it's like, hey, like no, like that is the divine, that is God. We're all in the womb of the creator, we're all cells of the whole. So how are we not, right?
Notes in the symphony,
Yeah. We're all swimming in the same ocean, baby. But does the fish realize it's wet?
Oh yeah, there you go. What's water?
I mean again, like, aren't we in just another sea of energy?
I mean, there's a back to like trying to have reminders in my life, right, and rhythms and community, and is just to practice remembrance.
Ooh,
that word has come up now and again. It's all just like remembrance, like because it is easy to start creating those assumptions all over again, and isolating or whatever self-defense thing, to feel separate and then to continue to separate yourself more and more and more, and those programs can still grab on, because life is life,
right.
but yeah, to have like rhythms of remembrance. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, but rhythms of remembrance in your life feels so important, and like you said, yeah, for more people to experience that, hopefully continues to happen. Yeah.
I feel that, man, and I'm right there with you. I really do hope, and I see it, and I know that works. Like, what's good, bro? Like, I gotta say, again, it comes back to that sense of it's an image, and it is really truly a vision that you paint for people of what things could be. And it's funny that you say that. Remembrance is a theme that comes through. I'm fairly certain I wrote that down in my notes when I was listening to it, because that's the kind of almost, I don't even know how the word, reflective thoughts that come through, or it's just like the appreciation just for what we have, that reverence, remembrance. And what would be a good one? I'm a fan of alliteration. You got to help me out on that one. Reverence, remembrance brings us back to reverence.
Mm.
I would love a third one in there, but I don't know it would work. I don't got anything.
Ritual.
Ooh, okay.
Ritualized remembrance, rituals of remembrance for, what was the third one you said?
Bring us to states of reverence.
To reverence and rapture sometimes, when you're lucky.
Ooh.
And
When you're lucky. I like that, man.
Yeah, no, I think I love that. And I think reverence is so coded into this project, and like what I
100%.
really like want to bring into my life more and more always. And what's good, it's like let's see, saw might change in the blink of an instant. I found instincts looking for the long view, sing best from that place in my chest. Trust in the rest. Let's see what the songs do. Living for the minute. Ride to the rhythm of the tide comes in. Sunsets. Everybody got their eyes on this. One time, one chance. What a time. We're alive for this. Let's try. It's really like those are the things that bring me remembrance a lot of times, like cycles like the tides, the cycle of the moon, the sun setting, like those are things that are just freely available to us to tune into, depending on where you're at, I guess, with the tide. But we see it in the moon, like these natural cycles are just like calling out to us, that's the song of the flowers, calling out to us and to practice with them, to tune into them, to remember. Yeah, reverence. Good call.
Man.
And resonance, right? Resonance. Back to that one more time. Lots of R words. Yeah.
I like that. Well, it comes back to the sense of the real essence of what's good in its entirety is, there is beauty in everything. There's music in the earth. That line for me was just like, whoa, because I ground all the time. So I'm just like, yeah, buddy. Like that's the vibrations that it's always singing. It's always having that harmony itself.
It's a song. I mean, if we're all vibrations, right? Or if, on whatever quantum level, even solid things are actually just slow vibrations or whatever, then like it's all a song, I mean, like, yeah. And that, yeah.
It's next level stuff, man. And that's the abilities that I think we're going to start tapping into more. Is the sound aspect of things. I've been looking into it more in terms of just I think you've seen them at the circles where I have like the little tuning forks.
Yeah, we talked about them last time. Yeah.
That little ohm one where you hit that and that frequency, like the somatics is how, sound impacts the body. And when you think of how it impacts water, and you can see all the different changes that happen on just like the atomic level to just the beautiful fractals.
She got memories too. Spring come, that was kind of that was what I was talking about. Yeah, you picked that. That was really cool. Yeah. I was like, it's like those studies where they, even just think hateful thoughts at this, and or loving thoughts, and like that it like responds, and that's there's a record of that in a way, on a subtle like level, molecular level, almost like there's.
Even on that physical, we retain that memory in the body.
Yeah.
We had to work through all these things in different modalities, but like it's nail on the head, dude.
Yeah. Man.
It's trippy when you look at the layering of it. Because again, like that's why I think it's great when you're talking about like, yeah, like my art is just, there's different levels and layers to it. It's just like, as it should be. That's how life creates its art, right? It's all interconnected. And I think that, well, I know that I shouldn't even say I think anymore. I know that, like, and I just know that in my heart that that's the beauty of these different communities and just people who are coming together in this very intentional way to create, is that I see it as the kind of ecosystem to this new place that we're creating. And honestly, I'm going to be real talk. I'm going to say it straight up. I think Seattle, I think like Pacific Northwest, we are like the start to, I think, like a real big global shift and change. And I just know it. Like that's what my heart resonates too.
I have also found some resonation in that, like have you ever heard of the idea of like there's chakras in the world or whatever? Like there's chakras in the body, there's chakras in the earth, or
like
I don't know, just like
energy and
energy centers,
and all
point
that.
of and that they can move, and I just look at outward things and look for what's underneath them, right? Like think about San Francisco in the 60s, New York through the 60s. Like
Yeah,
there's certain
Harlem Renaissance,
places,
all that.
and then, you know, all kinds of other places. There's certain places where there's lots of energy, right? And then that's going to move, you know? And I
Yeah,
remember a few years ago just feeling like there's some energy that's going on in Brazil, you know, and
right.
and then they got the World Cup, and then they got the Olympics, and then they got and
Yeah,
you know, those are outward markers and those aren't perfect things or whatever, but there's something, you know, going on when stuff like that happens, you know. And yeah, I've always felt like there's something in Seattle as well, that like is trying to be, and it's ongoing, and people are
yeah.
participating in all these different ways. And I, you know, I'm not going to be as bold as you and say it's going to start here, but I do think that there's a huge role for us to play, you know, in the song
I will
or
say that.
whatever.
Yeah, I like that.
But I dig that, and I do feel like something very akin to that as well about this
Yeah,
place. And yeah, I feel very like invested in this place as
yeah.
well.
Hmm. I wonder
Yeah.
how deep we all go back. I think that's the thing that's always trippy is when you're like, oh, wait, this isn't the only life I live. And you come to experience
Mm,
certain things. I'm like, okay, well, I know I have a connection here. Where
mm,
else? And I'm just very curious because I feel this is, it came up when you were just talking again about the the realization of just communing with the divine in everyday life with people and things and
mm,
whatever sings to their heart in that expression. It brought it back to like, yo, I feel like there's just a bunch of like super dope native souls that were just like in the real earth, like real connected with Mother Gaia, like that are just
mm,
like came here because we're like, hey, we got to change some shit. Like, we got to make a pivot. And because that's one core thing that I've really found for people that have that real reverence towards the divine is like that natural curiosity.
mm,
They've had that own inner knowing that some things just aren't right,
mm,
and they've never let that blind them into a lot of ways. Like there's been certain things that we've all gotten caught up in, obviously, but there's been certain core truths to them that like we've all kind of had our own inner authority to kind of navigate through this and kind of unfold into our own divinity and be like, oh shit, it was here the whole time. I knew it,
mm,
you know? And then we've just kind of resonated. Like for me, like I guess you would say like my perspective or one of my kind of like things that I've cultivated is the intense step back to the step back to the step back. So like to really just zoom out and just like,
yeah.
yeah, see, this is where everything's going. Like, and that's kind of what the only things that really make sense to my heart are is just like, yo, we're a bunch of just like spiritual SWAT team coming through, just like clack, 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 just like love, 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 authenticity, authenticity, like compassion, understanding. And it's just like, and it's just this old paradigm is just like, honestly, it's quickly crumbling the more that the people start coming together and vibing. It's crazy.
Dude, I mean, for real. And I do appreciate you saying these things because it's stuff that I hold really inside a lot, I think, you know, and so
Mm,
to you know, have that reflection, like sometimes, you know, yeah, like I think about this sometimes as like a lifeboat, dude, like look,
it's got the
like
color.
yeah, dude, I'm like, it's like I'm trying to make it like translate it and make it like seductive, or something, you know, like attractive to the modern world, and to like an invitation out of the ways that we've been living, because it's like I
Mm.
don't think that the ways that we've been living are going to keep working, you know, like necessarily. So yeah, like the crumbling is happening and the rebuilding is happening amidst that, you know. And yeah, like it's interesting to reflect on that journey the way that you're describing it right now too, like of like just like, yeah, like I know that other people are going through that, but so much of it has been lonely, you know, like, or
Oh
like just felt
God,
alone,
yeah.
you know. And not that I don't, you know, not that it hasn't been like
Feel
interesting
that.
connections all along the way, you know, but like on different levels, you know, and stuff. But
Yeah.
still, it's like, I mean, you know, it's everybody's on their soul journey too. But I once heard this concept of like, there's more people incarnated on Earth than ever before, right? Which
Yeah.
usually the framing is, we're overpopulated. Oh my God, you know, like we're gonna
Yeah.
die, because it's like we only have this materialist worldview and it's all about numbers and counting and, you know, left
Right.
brain analytical bullshit. And that stuff has its place, whatever. But this flip on it was like, never before have so many souls been here on this planet, because this time is important, because
Yeah.
we need the people more than ever before. You know,
Yeah.
we need authenticity. We need more and more. Yeah, you know, and in order to like move through. So yeah, one song we didn't talk about flickering, but what do you think? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
that's like that's kind of the, you know, the concept there, right? Is like, I don't
Yeah.
know, that play there is just the like, look, like
I'm so happy you said that because my favorite line, like, it's just life, yo, an initiation and invitation. I was just like, oh my, like, just because to me that's like spiritual gas. Because it's like, I don't think if we, I mean, I'll phrase it this way. I wholeheartedly know in the depths of my being, if we approach this life as the gift and opportunity it is, and we actually gave reverence from it from the get-go, we would be able to, I wouldn't say eliminate, but I would say mitigate the intensity of unworthiness. And that's like, I honestly see that as one of the biggest cores just from my
Whoa,
working
that
with
blew my
people.
mind. I thought you were going to say something outward, and then you said unworthiness. But so much of the outward things probably must come from like unworthiness. Yeah.
100%. We really do have a deep collective wound of externalized pain and unworthiness. And I really do see it as that
And
just core of just not knowing where we're at or
so
who
much
we
of
are.
our consumerism and stuff is trying to bandage that ineffectively, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Let's just throw it into the abyss and see if we can fill it up.
yeah.
Like, we're nothingness, bro. Like, when we
Yeah.
tap into that.
But you know, on the like big scale, we go through pain and hard things, and we go through joy, and it's all stretching us out, you know. And yeah, like carving out more space for more to move through.
Oh, I gotta say though, Mr. Brodie, I gotta say, everyone's gotta check out the broadcast. Your music, it's inspirational. It brings out that heart resonance, man, and it brings you back to that point of remembrance. So there's really not much more you could ask for in music, right?
Hopefully, man. And it, you know, it bops a little bit,
You
you
go,
know.
and
It's
it bops. It
get your
does
head,
bop. I will say, like,
get your head moving a little. I mean, you know, it's chill, but it's still, yeah, it's still got a little beat.
hey,
But
you'll be
yeah,
humming, you'll
yeah.
be singing it. That's the vibe, though.
Whew.
Now, is there anything you want to say to the listeners?
Oh man, I mean, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much. Like I said, today has not been my day of being on top of it all, but this conversation has been one of beautiful remembrance, and I'm just really grateful. I appreciate you, you know, giving a deep listen to the project and really seeing me and like what I've contributed to it.
Sure.
Means that really means a lot.
Hey, you already know. Real recognizes real.
Yeah, to the to people listening. Okay, May. Mainly I'm just like I let's see, I'll share just a quick little piece of a song I wrote a long time ago that was like one of those golden songs, one of those
Yeah.
catalyst moments for me. But it's like it's called Horizon, and it was like a real like kind of visionary song experience where it's just like been picking pennies up, throw them in the well, just wishing everyone could grow out their shells and start to glow. Cause you know how to tell, it's the hope that we rise from the smoke and excel. So I'm picking pennies up, throw them all to hell, trying to envision everybody freed from the spell. We could stop the beast, kill the greed over wealth, sensing we need to rise from the place that we fell. And I think like I don't know, I was just singing about as a 20-year-old with so much less actual awareness or experience of all these things, but it just came into me, you know, about that slingshot, you know, and
I like that.
I just want to invite people to like walk that path, you know, like step into intrepid adventures, you know, like be dance, you know, let your soul and your spirit dance and like trust that it matters, you know, like there's a ripple effect from that. And you're going to have cool experiences along the way and resonate with different people, and that's going to be beautiful. And you're going to have hard painful, lonely experiences of separation still along the way, and that's going to be beautiful too. And I'm going to keep having all those things, and you're going to keep having all those things, but walking the path is just so worth it, you know. And the more of us that are doing that, you know, the less lonely it'll be, hopefully, and the more we can anchor that, like, a better life for the future people that you mentioned so eloquently. Yeah, just trust the process and keep walking, you know.
Ooh, trust the
I
process and
guess,
keep walking.
and then I don't, maybe you meant this in a more practical way. You know, you can listen to my music somewhere, you know. Like, I'm so bad at this part, you know. I'm like, I don't know, if it moves you, you'll figure it out, like, I guess, you
Love
know.
it. I love it.
It's so funny because I'm like, I literally like help people with marketing and stuff, and with, but I'm more about like how to shape their idea and how to get what's in your heart out into the world part, less about the like mechanics of like, you know, listen here now, you know, whatever. But yeah, I mean, hit me up or find the music, the broadcast, whatever you want to call it. It's out there. Got the website, got the merch and the CDs. Gonna make a lot more, you know.
Oh, gots to.
Just, yeah, see what wants to come next, you know.
Well, I guess I have a bonus question for you because of that little last tidbit. In terms of
Yep.
just facilitating and people bringing out their visions and what's on their heart, what's some of your biggest kind of like advice or pointers you give for those you work with?
Treat the idea like a being. Treat it with reverence, you know. Ask it what it wants. Ask it what it needs. Feed it. Give it the sunlight of your attention, you know. Give it the water of your love. Tend to it, you know. Prune it when it gets bigger and there's too many, you know. Prune the branches so that the right, you know, you know, but like, just yeah, like, love it like another being, you know, because it is, you know. And everyone else who contributes to that being, and everyone who comes to the release show, you know, is part of that being. And you know, who knows, from there it ripples, you know. It's on some energetic subtle level, it keeps going. So yeah, treat your heart's visions like like beings, you know, and give them all that respect and reverence.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that. When we get that
And
gift.
hit me up if you need to make a website for it, or make a video about it, or you just want to talk through it. I got to get like a coaching certification or something. I really love helping facilitate people's projects and helping them treat it like a being, you know. I really like, it's like a deep passion of mine outside of music, and it's just like helping facilitate things coming out of the imagination space and into the world. I have a business called Cloud Sigil Creative where I do that. So it's like, cloud is the imagination realm, you know, the ideas, the whatever. And then the sigil is making a meaningful symbol, making a meaningful mark, you know, like bringing that through you, and then through, like, I use the metaphor of the pen a lot, you know, through that, and make a mark, make it tangible and physical, and bring it into the 3D realm, the meat space, baby. Uh, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, if somebody like resonates with this and wants to work together, wants some like help with their project, I'd love to do that.
Quite the pitch. Well, I already know it would be an honor to work with someone that's tapped in, man. And I think that's one of the things here is, you know, keep doing what you're doing. People see you, people hear you. And the biggest thing is like what you're doing is speaking to the heart, and you're coming from that place of authenticity, and people feel that. And that's the energy that's breaking through, not breaking down. So it's all it is time, baby.
And that's all I want more of. I just want to be in a world of people's hearts shining, baby. That's that, you know, grow out the shell and glow, you know, like, because you do see it, you perceive it in people, and the more of that, the brighter the world, you know, the brighter our possible future. Yeah. Woo.
Hey, I
Man,
gotta
this
say,
has been better than I could have imagined. I'm all about it, dude. Thank you.
Of course, man. And thank you, listeners, for tapping in. Check out Brodie, the Brodcast. Roll the outro.
Thanks again to our sponsors for making this show possible. Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
That concludes this episode of Creatives Chat. Thank you for watching our show. Click the bell button to get notified of future episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, that's why I'm called the Brodcast. You know, like I was like trying to like cast more of like a better spell, you know, a better frequency, and and serve that.
Yeah.